Hey, Rifters, Keith Reza here, and just letting you know, we got a sponsor on today's episode. Enjoy an adventure on a historic Route 66 in the high desert. Campfire Comedy is an intimate showroom with limited seating under the stars that leads to a one-of-a-kind live stand-up experience. Join nationally touring headliners as they pit stop on the way to and from Los Angeles and Las Vegas to soak in the high desert and work out new material and run their hours before recording them that will be on air for Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, HBO, and Showtime, Comedy Central, and more. D's Kitchen Productions also offers private event space and production services, as well as a full service podcast studio and artists and executive retreats. Again, the number is 310-925-8365. D's Kitchen Productions. Thank you, D, for sponsoring Reza Riffs.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
We got the great Tommy Chong connecting his audio.
I can't believe I'm talking about. I can't.
Here we are.
Hey, Tommy, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Very
Doing
good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Tommy.
Thank you so much for Reza Riffing with us.
Well, I can't gotta take care of this stuff, ain't nothing to it but to do it.
You got it.
Tommy, this is Alan Lee. He's the trusty sidekick.
Oh, he's Tonto, is he?
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what? I appreciate that. I'm going to put that on my resume.
He's my Cheech.
Oh, okay. That's Tonto too, Kimo Sabe means wise white man.
Yes.
And Tonto means dumb son of a bitch.
Oh, man. Got it right. That's my man.
I'm just joking, man.
So, Tommy, I listen to a lot of interviews before I interview people because I don't like to ask the same questions. But you have like 100 interviews, maybe more on the podcast. So, like, you're one of those guys who loves doing the podcasts.
I don't mind it. When you get my age, the only thing you got is your mouth. so that's the only thing that's working. So you might as well use it.
Yeah. So I couldn't listen to all 100 plus ones, but I wanted to let you know. So if I ask some same ones, I apologize.
Well, again, at my age, I can't remember shit anyway. So that's why I'm really enjoying looking at old movies.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I'm seeing movies for the first time. It's like, oh God, I didn't know that. Like I watched the original A Star Is Born with Judy Garland.
Oh.
Right, yeah.
My God, that was such a lesson in filmmaking.
Yeah.
Because they had hardly any budget, and yet he shot it in color, and he shot it in what was the other thing? Oh, it was a musical. First musical shot in color, and the only thing they spent money on was the musical, kind of.
Right.
Everything else, you got to see it with
That's
Judy Garland.
I have seen it. I remember that one because I the guy who was the lead, I heard it was supposed to be Elvis.
Not in Judy Garland.
Not in the original one. Oh,
no. The original was Judy Garland. What you're talking about with Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand.
Okay, that's the one I saw.
Yeah, see, that's how old I am. You're talking your original only goes back to Christopherson. Mine goes back. The original goes back to James Mason, the English actor. Yeah. Oh, you got to see it. You got to see it, man. I couldn't believe it. My wife got bored. She's not too thrilled with it. Oh, I can't tell you anymore. Just gotta
Well,
see it.
Yeah,
as
definitely.
long as it's better than the Bradley Cooper one, I'm on board. I like originals. You know what I mean?
Better.
There was parts of Bradley I really liked too, because we saw that. But yeah, you're right. The Bradley Cooper one, we turned it off because when it started getting dark, it got too dark. You
Yeah.
know, the thing about the Judy Garland, when it didn't stay dark for long. It was it was kind of fascist, but everything was back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So check it out, man. It's really good.
I'll tell
Are
you,
you?
let me recommend this film. He may have already seen it. It's film noir, all the old detective stuff out of the 40s in LA. Kiss Me Deadly. Have you
Kiss
seen?
Me Deadly. Who was in that?
Uh, well, the lead is sort of Cloris Leachman is in it.
You're kidding. Young Cloris
Yeah,
Leachman.
it's
Yeah.
like CIA kidnapped and tortured her. She's running on this road, and then the detective sees he's in a Corvette, like a 61 Corvette. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
Deadly. Um, it's fantastic. Your wife will love this.
Yeah, that's why the reason I love old movies, especially the Star is Born, the original.
Yeah.
They show old cars.
Oh,
They were the newest of the hottest car back
yeah.
in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
And you don't see them like when you see old cars now. They're like hot rods, that have been
Repellished and stuff.
yeah, well, yeah, with
Like,
not the original paint, but
that's
when you see the old cars,
right.
everything original. Oh my God, they were beautiful works of art.
Yeah.
They had some original, Venice. War played in Venice. It was a free concert. It blew my mind. The band War.
Yeah.
God, it's unbelievable. They had a lowrider group come, and they had all their cars parked on Venice there, near the pier, and then War performed. Man, it was a mind blower.
What year was that?
This was last year.
Last year.
Months ago.
Oh, yeah.
In Venice. It was one of these free concerts.
Cheech and I
Unbelievable.
and Shelby performed with War before the pandemic.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, we were out with War for a couple of years actually.
Yeah,
In fact,
weird.
yeah, I was supposed to do a video for a friend of the War's harp player, Stanley Barron.
Oh,
but I had to cancel this morning. First time I canceled in a long time. But I had this other previous engagement, as they say.
Sure, man.
Yeah. You had to do Reza riffs. Now, Tommy, I wanted to ask you, are you still golfing right now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not like I was. No. I got when you stick me at home, it's kind of dangerous because I kind of get used to it.
Right.
In fact, all my life, most of my professional life for sure, we were never home for any longer than a week. Always on the road. In fact, the reason we got into movies was I got so sick of going to Australia because every time we went to Australia, we'd miss summer here.
Right.
And then we'd have winter over there, and then we'd come back in time for winter here. And so 3 times in a row. And then I said, nah, I want to do a movie. And so we ended up shooting Up in Smoke. And so that was the end of the war travels. But I love being locked down. I have no problem with it.
Yeah. I liked it for the first 6 months, and then I was like, I gotta do comedy.
Yeah. Well, you guys are youngsters,
Yeah.
See, we're they're still touring. Oh, it's amazing. We get an ovation for just being there.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good. You went to a Comic-Con. I read
Yeah.
one in Anaheim.
Yep. Sure
Wow.
did.
Cool, yeah.
That was great. Now, that's another thing I found out about. You go in costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so anybody can go.
Yeah.
Most of the time,
Cosplay.
well, celebrities, it's hard to go anywhere because people always want pictures and
Yeah.
But Comic-Con, you can dress up and no one knows who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
You know what saved, in my opinion, the whole people asking for pictures for celebrities is Cameo.
Oh, right.
Because now, if you just get a picture, like they probably won't even remember. But if you get a Cameo, the celebrity will actually put some mustard on the hot dog for it. You know what I mean?
Sure. I do cameos every day. I do at least, I think 4 or 5, sometimes 12 a day. Yeah, I love it. I don't, personally, I don't mind hobnobbing with the fans at all.
That's great.
As Cheech is not a big fan of that, he never was. But I was, I still am too. No, I don't mind. I don't mind the fans. I was old enough. I never grew up famous.
Right.
And so when I grew up, and I've been snubbed by a few stars, and so I know how that hurts, especially if they're big fans and then you snub them.
Yeah.
It's kind of hurtful on every side,
Did that ever happen to you when you were like growing up and you got
Oh
snubbed?
yeah,
Yeah.
I got snubbed. No, it was when I was growing. This is after Cheech. This is when Cheech and I, we just had our first record out, and our producer was Lou Adler.
Oh.
And so Lou, he had a party at his house one time, and the who's who of music was there, including John Lennon, Mick Jagger, the Stones, Jack Nicholson. And so Rod Stewart, just everybody in the music industry. This was back in 1972. And so I was at the party and I was thrilled. First thing I wanted to do, I told Lou, I said, I'm going to get high, smoke a joint. He said, well, go in the bed. He says, go in the bedroom. Go in the bedroom. So I went in the bedroom and I lit up this big old stinky Mexican Sinsemilla, the kinds with the seeds in it and everything. Yeah. And it was stinky. Oh, and I looked over and there's John Lennon on the floor sitting by the bed, but he was sitting on the floor. And so John Lennon, I walked over and offered him the joint, and he said, he politely declined. He said, no, mate, I've got immigration problems, so I'm not smoking right now. And so then a few minutes later, what's his name? Rod Stewart walks in.
Right.
And he's in the mirror combing his hair. So I offered Rod Stewart the joint, and he declined because of his voice. He said, no, you got to take care of the voice. Okay. And so then I was, there's nothing to say. So I put up the joint and walked out into the hallway. And that's when I met Jack Nicholson. Well, you talk about, I was such a big fan of Jack Nicholson because his acting is incredible.
Right.
And he was just in a movie called You Can't Handle the Truth. What was that?
Oh, A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men. Yeah, he was just in that movie. And in the movie, there's a scene where he's combing his hair and he doesn't have any hair. It's so thin. And yet he spends a good 10 minutes screen time combing the hair. And so I'm stoned out of my mind. So when I saw Jack Nicholson, I said, Jack, tell me, that scene in Few Good Men where you're combing your hair. I says, you must comb your hair for about 10 minutes. And I says, did you write that? Or was that an improv? Or was it someone wrote that bit? And Jack just looked at me and said, excuse me. And he pushes me aside. And he walks into the bedroom.
Walks away.
I've never been put down in my life that smooth. It was cold blooded. It was cold blooded. I'm standing there with my mouth open. Well, I can see. Well, first of all, when you hit that level,
Yeah.
you don't talk to these people. You
Right.
know, especially like on Saturdays. You know, the word goes out. No eye contact, you know, and so they're separated. Well, with me, we were just starting out in the business, and so it was a shock. It was a shock, but it also taught me, that not to ignore people, because that I mean, if you don't want to be around, that's one thing. You can make excuses and disappear, but to be around somebody and then snub them like that, that's so rude.
Yeah. I went to a Laker game with Michael Rappaport once, and not Rappaport, Rosenbaum, and so we're sitting, floor seats because he's friends with Jeannie Buss, and Jack Nicholson is right there. And Michael and I were talking. We're like, "Oh, dude, it'd be cool to get Jack Nicholson on our podcast because he has one too." And then so like we're taking bets on who should ask him first. So I was like, "All right, since you're a more famous celebrity than me, you go ask him." So he walks up to him, and I don't hear what he says, So he has a conversation, and Jack just laughs and walks back, and Michael says, "He said no."
And Michael Rappaport was a known actor at that time.
Yeah, it wasn't Rappaport; it was Rosenbaum. I get.
Because it was Rappaport, he would have told Jack off.
Yeah, Rappaport.
What the fuck, you scumbag motherfucker! You insult me like that.
That's right. Oh my God.
But yeah, but no, I get that. But like another thing that I really like about you, just by like talking to you, is you seem very spiritual. Like you seem in good health with life and stuff.
Well, yeah, I got turned on very early in my life to the power, and once you know the power,
right?
Then you can do anything, and I've proven that. I've proven that so many ways. Well, look at now. We're talking now.
Yeah.
I'm 84 years old, and I still get people like yourself. Hey, let's get Tommy Chong. Let's talk to him. What was the train of thought? I forgot.
You're good spirits. You're spiritual. How you always treat everyone with kindness.
Yeah. Well. It didn't take me long. I'll tell you, it really came out when I went to prison. Because when I was going to prison, at first, for bombs,
right?
And at first you say, well, that's first of all, that's not going to stick.
Right.
I didn't even own the company. The only reason they went after me was because of my name. And then, and then I was very cocky about, hey, they can't do this to me. Next thing you know, it's a day before my sentence, and I'm thinking, I'm composing a letter to the judge. I'm ready to do anything not to go to jail.
Yeah.
But my lawyer luckily caught the letter, and he said, no, that ain't going to work. What happened? Because they were looking for a name, and I happened to have the name, and I happen to have the reputation too. You see, because all Bush was looking for is the reason to get the press off his ass because he was going into Iraq on lies, and the lies were being found out. And so they were looking for some diversion. So they went after the bong industry.
Right.
Yeah. And that was the only industry. And it was like, what do you call it? A gray area, could you really bust people for selling bombs? Well, they thought, well, that's all they had.
Yeah, they said paraphernalia.
Yeah, paraphernalia. So that's all they had. So they went gung ho. And then when they did the background check on me, they found out that I had a history. I had a police record as a juvenile.
Right.
But that law where they're not supposed to bring that up is bullshit. The cops and they'll do anything to make a bust.
Now, do you think that they just brought that up because it's you, or do you think they brought that up just to bring it up? You know what I mean?
No, because of me,
Right.
because it looked bad. I had to be guilty.
Right.
And if you got a police record, then the first thing they'll show that, well, this guy must be guilty because look, he got in trouble before. You see, the priors. A lot of people in the industry got house arrest, because they never had a record, and it was a bullshit law, But with me, I had a record, and I also wouldn't keep my mouth shut. I kept talking about how I was making jokes. Comedian, you can't shut us up. I was making jokes about the only weapons of mass destruction they found were my bongs. And of course, the press ate it up, and then I was telling the arresting officer, I'd make him famous, and
Right.
he'd say, "How so?" I said, "Well, in Up in Smoke, the Sergeant Stadenko was a real cop in Vancouver.
Right.
In fact, I made him so famous that he got transferred to Turkey."
He probably didn't like you for that one.
Oh, he did not like Tommy Chong, but I'll tell you, all his buddies, all his cop friends, they loved me and Cheech, because we had it on a poster. We had Sergeant Stadenko, and that was his name. Abe Stadenko was his name, and so when he retired, I got a call from the narcotics cops in Vancouver, and they said, "Don't worry, it's not a business call." They said, "Why don't you do us a favor? Abe's retiring." And he came. I said, "I thought he was in Turkey." And they said, "Yeah, he was, but he came back. No, he hangs around the station, and he's sort of like a bug." And so they want to give him a retirement party to get him out of there. And so they, as one of the gifts, they wanted a signed poster, Cheech and Chong, with his name on the poster. And so we did. We sent him one, and that was pretty funny. But so I told the arresting officer, I said, "I can make you famous too," and then it was a stupid thing to do, because the arresting officer and the judge,
right,
they're intimate all the time, and what they do all the time, they sabotage you all the time. That's why the lawyers tell you, don't, just keep your mouth shut and don't say anything, and because they would, and they did, they used that against me, and but then I making anybody famous, fuck that.
yeah,
I never mentioned anybody after that, but going to jail, no, getting to the spiritual thing. When I went into jail, I had kind of lost it. I went through a period, LSD, when I first did acid. I got into a really beautiful spiritual trip. I had a beautiful spiritual trip. And then I started reading these books, spiritual books. And then I got turned on to Joel Goldsmith.
Oh,
And Joel Goldsmith, Joel S. Goldsmith. The Master Speaks is the book that I got now, but he's written quite a few books. But remember that name, Joel S. Goldsmith, and he just turned me on to everything. And
you're expecting a ghost?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how I got turned on to Joel Goldsmith.
Oh,
Listen to this. I'm walking down New York. I guess it was in the 80s, 70s, late 70s. Yeah, it was before. Yeah, it was. I get maybe after the movie. Anyway, yeah, I'm walking with my gym bag on my way to the gym. All of a sudden, I swear to God, I'm walking. All of a sudden, I felt something take my body and just turn me facing this publishing house, HarperCollins Publishing. And it was weird. It's like, I think I looked to see who was pushing me, and there was no one there. And so I just went along. All of a sudden, I felt something taking me into the building,
right.
and then over to a section of books, and I felt something take my hand and reach down and place it on this book, on the Goldsmith. It wasn't The Master Speaks. It was his biography.
Oh my God.
And so I took his biography, I took it up to the counter, paid for it, and then I went home. And I didn't go to the gym. I went home and read it, and it really has changed my life. And the way it changed my life is that Joe Goldsmith is a New York Jew during he was tried to get into the First World War. That goes back goes back to 1916 or something like that, or even sooner. Anyway, he was, like I said, a Jewish. He was in the schmata business, the clothing business, and he was selling buttons. That was his job, but he wasn't that good at it, and he wasn't making any money. And then he got interested in spirituality, and so he became a Christian Scientist, where Mary Baker Eddy, I think her name is, and he started attending services. And because he was such a brilliant guy, he became a reader for the Christian Scientist, and then he became, somewhere along the line, he became a Mason with all the degrees of Masonry. And then he started, he healed his father. His father was dying. His father was in England. And the Christian Scientists told him, your father doesn't have to die. You can heal him. And so Joel, how do you do that? And they said, well, you just pray for him to be healed. And so he went to pick up his body, his dad, because back in the day there was no phones or anything, there's telegram was the only thing they had. And so he took a boat. When he got to England, his dad was waiting for him on the pier, waving at him. And so Joel discovered that he had these healing powers. And so he became a healer. And then, he was okay, but he never, he wasn't making any money, just doing the healing work. And so these ladies that were attending his services started recording him. And he did a series of concerts at appearances at the Wiltern Theater at Los Angeles here. in 1953.
Holy Lord.
1953, 54. And they taped his concerts, and then they put them into books.
Yeah.
And that's the books that you got, because he never wrote anything. He would just channel from the spirit world, and they would tell him what to say. And that's what happened to me. It happened to Joel, I guess, because we were like chosen, you
Right.
know. And so after, and the first thing he says in his books, you'll read his books, you'll see the first thing he tells you to do is don't try to start a religion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He says, let me take care of that. I'm already doing that. You know, he says, what I want you to do is learn the lessons that I'm teaching you, and use them, use the lessons. And so I got turned on to Joel. And then once you get turned on, once you start looking, then you hear about other people, you know, and Mary Lou Williamson. I got into her. Well, that book, the books that she reads, and then Joel Goldsmith turns me on to Emmett Fox.
Holy Lord.
Emmett Fox is another Jew,
right,
that wrote the true meaning of the Bible, of the Christian Bible.
Yeah.
And it was so eye-opening, you know, because really what Joel and Emmett Fox pointed out was that there is one God, you know, and that the Muslims say that, the Jews say that. Well, the Christians, they sort of broke the teachings by doing what Moses said you shouldn't do, make a graven image of
right.
God. And that's what the Christians did with Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So like they think that Jesus is God, even though there's also a God, right? Like two gods.
Well, no, they think they consider him the Son of God.
Right.
Yeah, but in their religion, they consider Jesus a God. You know, in fact, you listen to Christians all the time. They tell you only way to go to heaven is through Jesus Christ. Right. You know, and which is, even Jesus never preached that ever. Jesus would tell his disciples, "Why you call me good? There's the only good is God." You know, Jesus told the disciples, you know, the mind that's in me is in you. You know, and that's why he died. You know, and so the Christians, they always like to say that, oh, he died for our sins, therefore we don't have to do anything other than believe in Jesus. Well, that is so wrong. And if anybody doubts what I'm saying, just look at the trouble that the Catholic Church is in now. Oh, yeah. You know, with all the pedophile things. I mean, it's on TV. If you've been molested by a Catholic priest, phone this number. Right. And apparently there's millions of people out there that have been fucked over by a priest, you know, literally. and it goes on that. And if you look at the Muslims believe like the Jews, there's only one God. Yeah. You know? And if you see any of the militant on either side, it's because they misinterpreted the scriptures, you know, because there's never been, God has never commanded anybody to hurt anybody else. Right.
Hey, Rifters, Keith Reza here, and just letting you know, we got a sponsor on today's episode. Enjoy an adventure on a historic Route 66 in the high desert. Campfire Comedy is an intimate showroom with limited seating under the stars that leads to a one-of-a-kind live stand-up experience. Join nationally touring headliners as they pit stop on the way to and from Los Angeles and Las Vegas to soak in the high desert and work out new material and run their hours before recording them that will be on air for Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, HBO, and Showtime, Comedy Central, and more. Dee's Kitchen Productions also offers private event space and production services, as well as a full-service podcast studio and artists and executive retreats. Again, the number is 310-925-8365. Dee's Kitchen Productions. Thank you, Dee, for sponsoring Reza Riffs. Do you think that because I do stand up, I know you, I don't know if you're still doing stand up, but I know you used to. Do you think that religion and comedy, like there's a form that it complements each other regardless what you believe and what you think is funny?
Well, funny's funny.
Yeah.
Funny is the truth. Whenever you say you get a laugh, you examine what you just said, and you'll see it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. It doesn't matter. You can say, "Oh, we're not allowed to do that." No, it's the truth. If it's the truth, it's got to be the truth.
100%.
Hey, listen. After I got my operation, I had cancer. Then I had the exit closed and moved around to the front. So I have a colostomy bag, and so I no more than got it, and I'm doing comedy about it. And I told him, I tell people, having a bag, it's kind of cool, because you don't have to waste any time sitting hoping,
Are your VIP meet and greets going down because of this bag?
Nothing. Well, actually, I got. I did the bag on CBS television. That's when they thought I was the old school, and all the comics. My son was in the dressing room, and all the comics were lined up watching me. And when I talk about the bag, I said I named my bag the Donald. Because it's always full of shit and hot air, and I haven't been asked back. Let's put it that way.
Well, you could do my comedy club anytime. I'll always ask you that.
Where's your comedy club?
It's in Huntington Beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called the Rec Room.
The Rec Room in Huntington Beach.
Yeah, it's small. It only fits 150 people, but
that's perfect. It's a perfect size. Perfect size.
Well, after the podcast, we'll stay on the meeting and we'll talk about it, man.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Well,
I haven't done comedy for stand up for. I got to tell you, Skirball. You know where Skirball is?
Yes.
Yeah. I got someone there, the Federation or something. They wanted to give me an award, and that's comedy speak for. Want you to do your act for nothing.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it was. So what I did when they're going to give me the award, okay, and they're going to have other comics on with me as well. But I'm going to get the award. In other words,
not these guys, me.
Yeah. In other words, I'm the headliner.
Right.
And those guys are probably getting paid. I'm not.
Oh,
but I get a plaque. So I knew that. And so, and my wife shows up with a couple of friends. Now she usually does the stage with me. She either opens it. She used to open for me, and then when Cheech and I got back together again, she would open for Cheech and myself. So this is because it's an award. It's not a comedy show. And so my wife and her friends were sitting in the audience. Now their friends the husband's like a Trump supporter. I'm trying to put this very diplomatically.
Right.
And we get along as long as we don't talk politics.
Right.
Okay. It's like most Trump supporters, they're kind of old fashioned. In other words, whenever, people talk about Tommy Chong on stage, right away, oh, I'm going to do a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they, because they're wealthy and because they're very wealthy, they kind of feel that if you're an entertainer, you should be glad that they're there, even though they never paid for a ticket, and even though they don't know what the hell you do. So they have that kind of an attitude. Now, I'm a sweet guy. I like everybody. I really do. I don't have a problem with anybody. I like Trump right up until he started talking shit about Mexicans, and because I consider I'm a Mexican by injection,
Right.
more than anything. And so we get they're sitting there, and I get up and I start talking a religious, spiritual rap. And you can feel the audience squirming.
That's the best, isn't it?
They're squirming. They're like, punchline, where's the punchline? Oh, there's no punchline. Okay. And so, but I do have I do have spiritual fundings. For instance, I put this on the end, about the cannabis as a gift from God.
Right.
The burning bush was talking to, that talked to Moses. That was the cannabis. That was a marijuana plant. And I said, you can see the plant. Say, hey, Mo, come here, boy. This bud's for Jews. But it wasn't really enough. I had gone way too far.
Right.
And so then I got my award, and then the other comic come on, and he killed them because he's got an act. But after the show, I had a guy come up and I touched him with a spiritual talk. Older Jewish guy. Because I mentioned the fact that it was the Jews that really discovered the presence of the invisible God. It was the Jews. They were the first. And that was one of the reasons they were attacked by the fascists, the non-believers, the opposite of spirituality, is the ignorance. And so I had this old Jewish guy come up to me. He says, what you just said up there, is that on record or a book somewhere? He says, I really like what you said. I really wanted to get more into it, And so I don't know if I told him about Joel Goldsmith and that, because really what I do, my beliefs, are parallel to his, and same as Emmett Fox, because what I learned and what I've been, I call more teaching than preaching, is the first question they when they go through my itinerary, my life, and they look at me, and I've done all these things. I was a recording artist with Motown Records. I wrote a soul song, a tune, and I played guitar with Jimi Hendrix at one time, and all these my past lines up, but the secret, there's no secret. What it is that I discovered the power of prayer
Right.
See, and the power of prayer is that you can have anything, but you have to ask. Ask and ye shall receive. That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. God really doesn't read your mind. You know, he reads your heart.
Yeah.
And it's your heart. And then what happens with me, as long as I'm asking for something that's going to help humanity, you know, then you're okay. Because, like, say, asking for wealth can be a trap.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Because
Just look at everyone who's won the lottery.
that's
Like,
that's
you
what
know.
they say. The I Ching, another book that I go to, they consider winning a lottery a misfortune,
Oh, definitely.
because it will screw. See, people have this thought: if you got a lot of money, then you got no problems. Are you
You
kidding?
probably have more problems.
It's like covering yourself with honey and going into a bee's nest. You know, you know no, it can give you more problems. Ask and ye shall receive. That was I learned that real early, and then I also learned that they're little ones, but when I look at it, you know, when I was a kid, we were very poor.
Yeah.
Growing up, but when you're poor, you don't know it. You don't know you're poor. You know when you're hungry, but you know also, because you have a mom and dad, that you are eventually going to get fed. You know, and if you got your mom and dad are very together, like my mom and dad was, then poverty is just a phase that you go through until good times. You know,
Right.
till the good times come around. So it's not that kind of poverty, but we were without a lot of things, and that's good in life, because then you learn how to do. First of all, you learn how to entertain yourself, you know, and the first thing you learn is how you help the family, because when you're poor and you're a kid, you're a hand, you're a worker.
Definitely.
You know, you're even making money for the family. You're part of the family unit, and therefore you've got this wealth of people that depend on you, people that love you, and people that care about you. And then if you, like, everybody has relatives and friends, you know, that can help you out if help is needed in any way. You know, like my dad cut our hair right up until I think I was probably, about 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, around there. And then haircuts were like 25 cents.
Right. Now they're like fucking $25. It's like,
yeah, but growing up poor, you learn how to do things for yourself, you know. And growing up, say, without central heating, you know, we or even plumbing.
yeah.
We had an outhouse, and I was so proud of that outhouse because my dad built it, and my dad's Chinese, and so he had this Oriental Japanese, looked like a Japanese tea house. You know, it was so well built, and because my dad, you know, he liked comfort, you know, and if it was going to be an outhouse, it was going to be a very spectacular outhouse. So it was where you went to be alone. It was
Right.
like a meditative spot, you know, because it was clean, it smelled nice, you know, and was away from the house, and that's where you went to if you wanted to be alone, to be meditate or whatever.
Did you meet any politicians? Any politicians that needed to meditate occasionally?
Well, you know, you don't really meet politicians. they meet you.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like you don't really meet agents; agents meet you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But what happened with my life is that it was, you talk about Tom Sawyer kind of life, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, Dirt
Great
Road,
Mark Twain.
barefoot on the dusty road. My brother and I one time, and I tell people all the time, you never wore clothes. You wore pants, and not even shorts. They were pants.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as shorts. There's no reason to wear shorts. It was pants and shoes. You never wore shoes because it was dirt road. You didn't need shoes. And the reason you didn't wear clothes was that you had to wash everything by hand. And so you did the wash, and that sheets and everything in the house, towels, everything. And it was by hand in a wash tub, and then you hung the clothes up to dry. After you rinsed them and wrung them out, you hung them up to dry. So we weren't about to be, changing clothes like they do now. Get that out of that dirty T-shirt. There's no such thing. And we never had T-shirts, by the way. There were no T-shirts.
Well, back in the day, people used to do laundry like once a month.
Yeah.
If that. And they would they would like put it in a bucket, and then they would high dry it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. And that was just daily life. No, we had no refrigerator, therefore we had a root cellar. We could only keep food closed. And you never worried about taking care of food because you ate whatever came in.
Exactly. Even if you liked it or not, you still ate it.
Oh, you had no choice. And
yeah,
we grew potatoes. We had my dad rented a little piece of land, and he got the hillside because it was cheap. I think he got it for nothing. He was one of those Jewish Chinese guys. He was, but he was a gambler too, and
right.
So he needed cash to gamble. So we grew potatoes, carrots, just stuff that you could cook at night. And for a few years, that was the food that got us through the winter. And fruit, forget it. Apple was a treat. There was no dessert at a meal. If you had an apple, an apple, actually, that's what my mother would send us. We'd go swimming. And again, the swimming was very cheap. And when it kept the kids away in the pool for all day on a Saturday, and my mother would send us an apple. That was our lunch.
Yeah.
And you come out of a swimming pool, man, you're starving to death. All I had was an apple, but I ate it, and it would taste right down to the core.
And then when you were done eating, you smoked.
I wish. I never smoked. Well, cigarettes maybe.
Right.
Yeah, that was a bad thing to do. Cigarettes and that was the kind of growth. But what happened to me walking down this country road? See what happens when you get connected spiritually. Then you're in a whole other world. It's actually an invisible world that is there, and you depend on it. But there are rules, and the rules are you can't lie. You've got to be totally honest. And the reason is when you lie, you create another reality. And it's not a real reality. It's a made up reality. But then lies affect people that believe the lies, because
Alan and I were just having this conversation the other day. Yeah, people who believe lies, I feel, are more dangerous than the liar.
Yeah. Because what happens if you're wrong and you don't know it, then that's why forgiveness is so important in our human experience.
Yeah.
Because you have to forgive them, Lord. They know not what they do. That's the forgiveness thing, and that's why you forgive them. Because if they knew they were going the wrong way, the other day I was driving home, stoned out of my mind, with my wife, and in my brain, I all of a sudden, instead of coming from the east, I felt I was coming from the west,
Right.
up Sunset. And so instead of making a right turn, like I should have, I felt like I had to make a left turn, you know? And so I understand lies. And my wife screamed at me. And then she said, "Oh, you missed it." Well, and then soon as we passed the street, I looked at it. Then I woke up. You know, now I'm not lying anymore. Oh, I see what she means. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why forgiveness is so important, because most people that are lying are just mixed up. They're just going the wrong way, and they don't mean to do what they're doing, but they think they're right. And when they're totally wrong, and until they're proven that they're wrong, then they have to readjust.
Yeah.
And so that's so what happens when I was that young, I got taken to this car came along this dust road one day, and full of missionaries. They said, "Hey, you boys want to go to camp?" And yes, yes, we do. Now, it was a Christian camp, and it was all about learning about Jesus and sitting around campfires and singing songs. And I was young. I was 8 years old. Perfect age.
Right.
And so I got there, man. And the first thing they did at night, we each had our own little tent, and the guy comes in and he taught us how to pray. And wow, that was an amazing thing. Giving thanks, and then praying, and mostly thanks. Thank you for taking me to this camp, and thank you for having me do the sing-alongs at the campfire, and thank you for
the new guitar.
Not yet.
So Tommy,
It took a while.
Tommy, so
Yeah.
where does Charles Manson fit in all this?
Well, Charlie again. Charlie was abused. First of all.
Oh, I forgot it. I read. I'm remembering now.
Yeah, right. Charlie was an abused kid growing up, to the point, and that's what happens when you meet bullies and abused people. They've been abused. It's their only means of communication. Right. And then when what Charlie had, as all guys with guitars, by the way, if you want to hit it off with the ladies or the opposite sex, pick up a guitar, and kind of look like you know what you're doing, and you will have followers. That's what happened to Charlie.
He even did the Beach Boys. He even auditioned.
Sure.
With, you know this because you're in the music. With the Beach Boys. Can you imagine that? Yeah.
They took him under his wing, kind of. They would, but no, Charlie, and then once you get, especially women, can be the cruelest. In the old days, the native tribes, when they caught an enemy that they didn't like and they wanted to torture him, it was the women. They would turn them over to the women.
To this day, that's true.
It is.
That's why strip clubs, the strippers make all the money, and the bouncers make nothing.
Here you go.
Well, Tommy, we want to respect your time. Are we good to go a little longer? Or?
Sure. Whatever you want.
My friend wanted to ask Tommy one question, And like all women, she's into her skin, and we were looking obviously at your gorgeous wife, Shelby, and she said, "How does Shelby maintain this phenomenal skin, her complexion?" And I said, "Well, she's. What could you ask them that? Do they have a line of beauty products?" I said, "Well, so I'm doing this for her. I'm not that."
She's starting to get her own CBD products.
Oh, nice.
She's starting. I've been doing it for a while.
Gorgeous skin.
Shelby is a phenomenon. And again, people say to me, about my books, my religious books and that. I said, prayer works. I said, first of all, there is a God and he really likes me. And people say, why do you say that? I said, have you seen my wife?
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I met her when she was 16 years old, still in high school. She was babysitting. It was a concert in the daytime at White Rock, a beach area. And I was outside with the bouncer, and she come walking up with her little brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I was smitten from the time I laid eyes on that lady. And I got a picture here now, so I'm looking at it right now.
You've been married for
First
quite.
time.
You
Well, we've been
records.
together. We've been together, literally, since she was 16 years old. We've been married now legally, probably about 30 some odd years, but really, our oldest daughter is 52.
Uh-huh.
And so that's how long we've been in love and together in that. Now, she is the reason we're still together. It's all because of her.
Yeah.
Because what she just keeps herself. She's an artist, and so when she looks at things, it has to be as perfect as you can get. And that's why after I had my operation, I ended up in my own bedroom because it was actually my choice. But
Right.
I know that she wasn't too sad about it. But we have an understanding, and the understanding is that she's only with me because of what I can give her. And if that ever stopped, and you know what she needs more than anything, like all beautiful women do, attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Attention. And that's what I had a choice when Cheech and I broke up. It was like, do you want to? I was going out by myself, getting the name as on my own, and then I got offered a gig in Guam, and I said to Shelby, I said, why don't you come to Guam with me? She goes, well, I don't want to sit in the dressing room, just sit there. I said, well, how about if I put you in the show? And her eyes lit up and said, okay. And she's been in the show ever since.
Is she vegan? Because my friend is just going crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's a very, very sparse eater. She'll take a bite of something and she'll leave it alone.
Amazing.
She's got discipline that's unbelievable. She likes her alcohol, but she's got it down to, again. See, I was the opposite. We clean everything on the plate and then someone else's plate.
Yeah.
But she always left food on the plate. When I first met her, she didn't like the way I looked, so she wouldn't look at me. And so she said, I'll give me a pizza. She was a young girl, just a young high school girl. She said, I want a pizza. So I stopped. Well, we got a little slice of pizza, brought it back and gave it to her. 2 seconds later, she threw it out the window. And I laughed. Oh my God. Such opposite to me, And and in fact, the first time we met her, she gets in the car. We're at a gig. Her and her sister came to see the band, and she really wanted to talk to the singer, the other guys in the band. She really didn't want to be with me, but I was in her face from the day that she walked near us, and so okay, this is my guy, and so she is still there, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have another interview or something?
No, it was somebody. So she called. So she looks at me and she goes, "Give me some popcorn." She gets in the car. She said, "Give me some popcorn." And I looked at her. Oh, okay. I hadn't even met her. Just give her. Oh, we're giving her and her sister a ride to this hot nightclub. And so she gets in the car and she said, "Give me some popcorn." So I went up, got her some popcorn. And we were right there, the popcorn stand was there. And so then I get back in the car. I'm in the back seat. The singer, Tommy's driving. And her sister's in the passenger side. And then she says to me, "Take off that dickie." Now, do you know what a dickie is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little pony T-shirt, pony thing. That was our band uniforms. We all had dickies, I think one of the Beach Boys, one of those bands had a uniform like that. So she said, "Take off the dickie." And so I whipped off the dickie, and she says, "Now take us to the Harlem Nocturne." That's the other nightclub. I said, "We got a nightclub. Why don't you come to our club?" And she goes, "I never heard of it." And so I told her the name. She goes, "Well, everybody's at the Harlem Nocturne." She didn't really want to talk to me. And so we dropped her off at the Harlem Nocturne, her and her sister. And then we went to our club. It's empty. Their club, they had lineups around the block and they're happening. In our club, nobody's in the club. And we just finished a gig, so we sat up. We're playing away, and next thing I know, she's coming in. She's at the front door. My brother's not going to let her in because she's so young, and I don't think she was wearing shoes. I don't think she had shoes on, and but I told my brother, let her in, and so she gets in, and behind her was everybody at the other club.
Wow.
She said, "Well, I know a club we can get into," and they're gorgeous. And so the guys go, "Where?" So they all followed her to our club, and our club stayed full, packed from that night on.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was really the first night I met her.
Well, that is cool.
And that's my life. That's the way my life's been ever since I met her.
That was the love story of Tommy Chong, all complete.
That's it.
Now,
Well, you're a lucky man.
Tommy, where can the folks at home follow and support you?
Hey Tommy Chong is my Instagram, or one of my places.
Socials?
And you got that amazing site.
Yeah, social media. What's that?
Your CBD site is great.
Yeah, that's a CBD. That's the Hey Tommy Chong site. That's about it. I've got some huge plans coming up for the movie industry.
Oh,
but
nice.
I can't really divulge yet. We got a documentary coming out, a Cheech and Chong documentary coming out that it'll be out in a couple of months now, or I forget what maybe, I'm not sure, but it's a full-on document. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Well done movie. I saw part of it. My son saw it all, and he said it's pretty gnarly. And then we're going to. I got some ideas what we're going to do with the movies now, but Maybe the next time we talk, I'll tell you about them.
You've got two
Definitely.
extra-
Well, you're welcome anytime, Tommy Chong. Anytime.
Okay, well, when you need some more religious, spiritual raps, give me a call.
All right, will do. I'm
We're
gonna stop.
available.
I'm gonna stop recording because I wanted to ask you one last question
We're
off air.
available. We're available, Tommy.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We're right here for you.
Good. Thank you. What's the
right.
question?
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, Rifters, Keith Reza here, and just letting you know, we got a sponsor on today's episode. Enjoy an adventure on a historic Route 66 in the high desert. Campfire Comedy is an intimate showroom with limited seating under the stars that leads to a one-of-a-kind live stand-up experience. Join nationally touring headliners as they pit stop on the way to and from Los Angeles and Las Vegas to soak in the high desert and work out new material and run their hours before recording them that will be on air for Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, HBO, and Showtime, Comedy Central, and more. Dee's Kitchen Productions also offers private event space and production services, as well as a full-service podcast studio and artists and executive retreats. Again, the number is 310-925-8365. Dee's Kitchen Productions. Thank you, Dee, for sponsoring Reza Riffs.